They said hard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through this with a straight face. This is just completely absurd. I'd have thought Zoomers wouldn't want anything to do with this after seeing what happened with the Me Too movement and seeing how workplaces are no longer viable places for dating. Either they didn't get the message that this is not a good idea because of how easy it is to get fired over that, or they just don't care. Or they want the days of being able to date in the workplace be permissible. I'm not saying it's a good idea either way, but there is definitely a argument to be had for how it can be regulated, moderated, make sure that nobody craps where they eat. That brings me to today's article. Gen Z wants in-office sex to be a totally acceptable thing, by Sarah Bregel for Fast Company. I really wish I was making this up. Unfortunately, this is a real article. This is not satire. We're gonna find out just what the nitty-gritty details are. But before we do that, be sure to give this video a like, comment you think, whether you're among that 38%, or if you're among the 62% who are like, no, this is a bad idea, not the right place for that. And subscribe for daily videos. Alright, Gen Z, the youngest generation of workers, cares deeply about work-life balance. And according to new research, that balance includes hookups that happen during work hours. A new survey from EduBirdie of 2,000 Gen Zers examined the impact of working from home on the respondents' sex lives. Nearly half, 47%, said that remote work has improved it. Likewise, 1 in 3 said that a return to the office would damage it, mostly due to having a less flexible schedule. Oh, there are so many jokes I can think of, but we gotta power through this so that this video doesn't end up being an hour long in response to a relatively short article. Interestingly, 29% felt that returning to the office might actually improve it. Perhaps because meeting people on the job could offer more opportunities for intimacy or even the prospect of an office romance. You mean a pink slip, or one of you having to transfer somewhere else, or these people must have spent way too much time watching The Office, a 20-year-old show now. I'm pretty sure it's timeless on a lot of fronts, but on this front, in terms of the Jim and Pam story and office romances and dating and such, no. It's it's extremely outdated. It's been outdated like that for 12 years since it premiered, 4 years since it finished. It's an extremely outdated idea because there are false accusation possibilities. There are rules and regulations for how the company can be held liable. Ignoring all of that if something goes wrong with it and both of you have to show up, one of you might be without a job, or you're going to have to figure out how to not see each other on that job, and it could impair your ability to do the job. You see what I'm getting at? Clearly, that 38% did not get the memo. Back to the article. Well, once taboo, office romance is not something that turns Gen Z off either. The youngest generation of workers wants to normalize romance, or even just sex, in the workplace. An impressive 38% of Gen Zers admit they wish their workplace had private space, like an on-call room, for hookups or a little, self-love. It's like Lester Burnham in the resignation scene. Those of you who haven't seen American Beauty, when he's presenting why they should just the description of his job for the guy who for Brad, the guy who has the ability to lay him off. He describes it as my job consists of you know what? I'm just gonna pull up the clip. I'm gonna show it to you. But yeah, American Beauty, great movie. Totally deserved Best Picture that year. Alright, give me just 1 second to get up and running. And I need to adjust the playback speed so that I do not get any copyright issues or reduce the odds of that happening. Alright, here's the clip.
My job consists of basically masking my contempt for the assholes in charge, and at least once a day retiring to the men's room so I can jerk off, while I fantasize about a life that doesn't so closely resemble hell.
You heard it too, right? You heard exactly what he said about what he does in the men's room. I'm sorry. I think that 38% or whatever share of them said they wanted a private place to do that must have seen this movie and thought, maybe allowing this would actually improve working in the office instead of making it worse. Or they miss the point that Lester Burnham does that because he's miserable. Well, also, his sex life is kind of on the rocks, what with a cold and distant wife. Go watch American Beauty. Great movie. Let's get back to the article. That might be a hard sell to bosses. They said hard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get through this with a straight face. This is just completely absurd. Okay, take two. Normalizing sex at work could open the floodgates of performance issues. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this with as straight a face as possible. Performance issues. I mean, maybe when they realize what they're doing, they might actually have the performance issues because they're like, ugh, I'm at work or something like that and not be able to get it up. Whereas, or if it's completely allowed, it might lose the thrill. Alright, normalizing sex at work could open the floodgates of performance issues. No, not like that. And distractibility, not to mention unwanted sexual advances. See, that is really why that would never happen. Best case scenario, you get some false accusations and then you have to fire someone because you gotta treat everyone under your employ equally, or worse, something bad actually happens, and not only are you, and you have just facilitated the destruction of someone's life, because I'm not talking about the abuser. I'm talking about the abused. Yes, we on the internet all can go on about all day about false accusations and such, but when it really happens, we have to be mindful that there's still an above zero chance that something happened, and obviously, like I said in the video about the Sunday's video, they should defer these kinds of accusations to the police, not to some college board, not to some board of executives at a company, not to some manager, to the police. But yeah, it opens the door for both unwanted sexual advances, possibly actual SA, and then accusations of it that may or may not be true, but it would be a lot harder to prove though. Actually, it could be provable that something happened, but I digress. I don't want to talk about this more than I have to. All right, getting back to the article. The latter is particularly worrisome given that a staggering number of women still report being sexually harassed at work despite the impact of the Me Too movement. Still, Gen Z clearly believes that if we can have breaks for cigarettes and mental health walks, why not sex? I mean, it could be a morale booster. Actually, it would probably end up being a motivation problem because it would take up so much energy that the participants would lose motivation because they'd be so worn out from the energy that comes from that. Seriously, look up all the no frap videos. Remove the R in this case. And you will see that a lot of the things they say about the lack of energy is because it is a very energy intensive activity. Given that remote work has lent itself to more flexible schedules, Gen Z has come to rely on what that flexibility offers, which is majorly impactful. Long lunches, slow mornings, and sex breaks are just part of what Gen Z finds important. The youngest generation of workers has been adamant about how important finding meaning in their work is, prioritizing their mental health and their overall work life balance. Yeah, this idea sounds less like balance and more like just merging the two places, home and work. I mean, if you're not going to do this at home, I was about to say maybe a third place, like hotel room. If you really need to change up the scenery, just rent a hotel room. That's all I'm going to say about that. Gen Z certainly sees a ton of benefits in working from home, but many also find fulfillment in heading to the office. According to the survey, 42% feel that being around others is good for them, and that it improves confidence. Ah, the miracle of getting out of the sweats, showering, and actually leaving the house. This article was written by a boomer, most likely. Therefore, while Gen Z appreciates that work at home life like the best of them, they're not totally against leaving home. They just need a positive working environment that offers solid benefits, good vibes, solid flexibility, and, well, the prospect of hooking up before they clock out. What did I just read? You know what? I actually want to see if Sarah Bragel is actually a boomer after all. All right, I'm opening up her X profile. All right, I'm sorry I can't bring up the profile picture because Safari insists on opening the X app on my MacBook, which I don't have set up for that, but take my word for it. He looks like a really young Gen Xer or a really old millennial. Anyway, I think on that note, I'm going to leave it here for the video. You let me know in the comments down below if you're among the 38% who think that this is actually a good idea, or if you're among what I hope is the entire 62%, plus any Gen Xers, millennials, boomers who wish to chime in. I would love to hear exactly what you have to say about this idea. Whether you agree with me that this is probably the dumbest idea in the history of dumb ideas, or if you actually agree with it, you know what? As Steven Crowder would say, change my mind. Give this video a like, subscribe for daily videos, and I will see you soon.